Okay, so Red Sparrow, which is a new thriller starring Jennifer Lawrence based on a novel from 2013 by Jason Matthews, who apparently was in the CIA, and directed by Francis Lawrence, with whom, of course, Jennifer Lawrence worked before on some of the Hunger Games movies. I think he did the 3 or 4 of the Hunger Games movies, 3 of them. And so the story is, she is a Russian ballerina on the rise. She works hard. She looks after her mother, played by Jodie Richardson, who lives in a sort of somewhat pokey apartment. She has a creepy uncle, played by Matthias Schoenaerts, of whom her mother is deeply and frankly rightly suspicious. One evening on stage, she has a collision with a fellow dancer and she breaks her leg, which is one of just one of several wince-inducing injuries that happen in the film. So she's invalided out. Then she suddenly discovers that if she's no longer dancing, if she's no longer this great stage star, she will start to lose all the things that she relies on, such as the apartment in which she lives and the medical insurance, which helps her look after her mother. So creepy uncle comes along and says, I can help you out of this. If you just carry out one mission for me, very, very simple. I need you to sort of seductively entrap somebody. It's okay. You'll be perfectly fine. You just do this and I will make sure that everything is sorted out for you. She does. Of course, things do not go according to plan. The next thing, she's been a witness to a violent murder and she has a choice. And the choice is either that she will be dealt with or that she will agree to go into training as a Red Sparrow, which she tries to explain to her mother.
Morning, Mama. What is it?
I have to go away for a while.
It's something your uncle has arranged.
I'll be able to take care of us now.
You don't have to do this.
It's too late for that now.
Oh, no. What have you done?
I'm sorry.
I warned you about him. You hold something back. Don't give him all of you. That is how you survive.
Yes, Mama.
So she goes off for training as a Red Sparrow, which is basically a training camp in which they teach people how to seduce people that they need information from. And this is a kind of idea that's been used quite often in sort of tittillating and exploitation movies. Although I have to say, this is much nastier and much grimmer than one might expect. Certainly the place that she goes to, in which she is taught by Charlotte Rampling as the matron, is some of the scenes in it are really, really disturbing and really upsetting, which, arguably they should be more than something which sort of seems to be in any way sort of titillating. She finally gets out in the field. She gets sent to Budapest, where she has to meet up with and apparently entrap Nate Nash, who's played by Joel Edgerton, who has a mole in the authorities. But what happens is, very quickly, they sort of seem to get the measure of each other, and then the setup for the film is what will happen. Who is going to double-cross who? What people's actual motives? What is everyone actually doing? Now, the interesting thing about the film is that it slips on the one hand between sort of flights of, modern Cold War fancy and cliche. I mean, there are scenes in which Charlotte Rampling and Jeremy Irons are just chewing the scenery for all they're worth. And it is a film in which we have English and American actors talking with the Russian accent, which, as we know in the past, is something that I have not been sort of a huge fan of. So on the one hand, we have that. On the other hand, you have a kind of a much tougher, much grimmer, much nastier approach to that subject matter than you would expect from what is sort of nominally a big mainstream movie. And I spoke to you very briefly afterwards, and you said, what did you think? I said, it's a nasty film. And you said, but in a good way. And I went, well...
Because you've often said nasty
yes.
in its compliment.
I mean, what I was genuinely surprised by, when I came out of it, I saw it sitting next to Nigel Floyd. And I said, that has to be an 18 certificate, right? And in fact, it turns out that it's a 15 certificate, but it was trimmed by the BBFC not after it had been submitted. It was approached for advice before it was cut, and they said that one scene would have to be slightly toned down in order to get a 15. So it's a high 15. It's a film that was trimmed from an 18 as opposed to being cut, which is a technical difference, in order to get it a 15 rating. It includes, according to the BBFC report, strong bloody violence, gore, sexual violence, very strong language, and all those things. And one of the things that I was wondering when I was watching it is I thought, I wonder what the Jennifer Lawrence fans, the people who've come through the Hunger Games, are going to make of this. And then, of course, I thought, well, they have gone through, well, most recently, Mother! And Passengers and stuff which is, because whatever you think about Jennifer Lawrence's, career, the choices that she's made are bold choices. I mean, Mother was a very brave film to do. And in fact, one of the problems that Mother had when it went into cinemas was that people went along expecting it to be a Jennifer Lawrence movie opposed to expecting it to be a Darren Aronofsky movie, and they got something different. In the case of this, because, she's reuniting with a director with whom, I mean, we forget to some extent how dark some of the dark stuff in the first Hunger Games was. I remember when I first saw Hunger Games, I saw it in America. I know it was very, very slightly trimmed here to get a 12, but there are scenes in the Hunger Games, like the cornucopias, which really did make you go, and there were things in this, even, me, and as you know, I'm a sort of a fairly hardened moviegoer, that I was surprised, and I found some of it very, very uncomfortable, and I know that some people will find it, parts of it repulsive or, exploitative. My own response to it was that the nastiness was actually intentional, was that it was not trying to be titillating. It was trying to be, when it needed to be repulsive. And so it's a very strange film. I think her performance is very good. I think that she manages to lead you through the sort of the twists and turns of the plot, which obviously has a huge amount of contrivance involved in it. Tonally, the film does shift quite a lot. And I think that's one of the things that's odd about it, is that because at some points it seems to look like a fairly mainstream espionage who's double-crossing who thriller, and then you think of the other movies that we would have seen, recently. I mean, like, for example, Atomic Blonde, which is just fun. It's just a lot of fun. Yes, it's sort of violent and sensationalist, but it's a piece of fun. And there is a toughness and a nastiness to this that I think will catch a lot of the audience off guard. It doesn't surprise me one bit that it's kind of had a pretty lukewarm or sort of middling response. But I kind of like the fact that it's not a cookie cutter thriller. I kind of like the fact that it was a film that managed to make me feel quite uncomfortable, and funnily enough, this does refer back to Mother, because I remember watching Mother thinking, I'm not enjoying this at all, but I like the way I'm not enjoying it. And this is not a comparable movie to Mother. Mother is a better film because Mother is a more adventurous film. But as mainstream thrillers go, this is on the I didn't expect that edge.